All right, so once again, when we're doing implicit differentiation, we're differentiating x and y, okay? So first step, we're going to differentiate every term in the equation, and anytime we differentiate y, we multiply by dy dx. Then, step 2, every term with dy dx, we're going to move to the left-hand side of the equation. And every term that doesn't have dy dx, we're going to move to the right side of the equation. And then once we do that, we're going to isolate dy dx. Okay, so let's do our first example together. All right? I want us to find the derivative of y squared equals 2x plus 3y. All right, so the first step, we're going to find the derivative of every term. So we have a term of y squared. What would the derivative of y squared be? 2y. Excellent. But because we took the derivative of y, we have to multiply by dy dx. Okay? Then we're going to set it equal, and we're going to take the derivative of 2x. What's the derivative of 2x? 2. Excellent. What's the derivative of 3y? 3. But we took the derivative of y, so what do we have to introduce? Dy dx. Okay? So that's the first step. Now, the second step is that we are going to move everything over that has a dy dx to the left-hand side. So in this case, I'm going to subtract 3 to the left-hand side. And I'm going to leave the 2 by itself on the right. Anybody have any questions? Okay. So now our goal is to isolate dy dx. How many terms is dy dx in? 2. So how can we possibly isolate it if it's in 2 terms? I heard someone say it. How could we get dy dx from both of those terms? Could we factor it out? Yeah, like a GCF. All right. So we're going to factor out dy dx. And what are we left with? 2y minus 3. Now that equals 2. Now how are we going to get dy dx by itself? Divide both sides by 2y minus 3. And your final answer is dy dx equals 2 over 2y minus 3. Does anybody have any questions? Are we sure? No questions. Everyone's feeling good. We're sure. All right. So I want you guys to try one on your own now. Okay? Same exact steps. Find the derivative of 2x to the third minus y squared equals 3y. Okay, so let's take the derivative of 2x to the third. Can someone tell me what the derivative of 2x to the third is? 6x squared. Do I need to introduce anything else there? Nope. All right, let's take the derivative of negative y squared. What would that be? Negative 2y, but we need to include dy dx. Excellent. And then we need to do equals. What's the derivative of 3y? 3 and then dy dx. All right. So everything now that has a dy dx, okay, goes to the left-hand side of the equation. And everything that doesn't have dy dx goes to the right-hand side. Is everybody with me? Anybody have any questions? All right. So now we're going to isolate. How are we going to isolate the dy dx? We're going to factor it out, and you're left with negative 2y minus 3 equals negative 6x squared. How are we going to get dy dx by itself? Divide. So I got negative 6x squared all over negative 2y minus 3. Now, maybe for an extra credit point on our quiz, maybe I ask you to put this in simpler form. Is there anything that we can do to put this in simpler form? We can factor out a negative 1. Why would that put it into simpler form? Because now we've canceled out the GCF, and we have 6x squared over 2y plus 3. If you left it with all the negatives, it's still right. Okay? I'm just saying, can we simplify it more? All right, questions? We're sure, no questions whatsoever. Okay, let's do a little bit more of a challenging one now. Okay, let's do find the derivative of 2xy minus 3y squared minus 2x equals 7. Why would you consider this problem a little bit more challenging? Right, we have a term that has x and y in it. Let's think about this. What are these two parts of this term doing? So I have 2x and y. What are they doing to each other? Multiplying. So how are we going to take the derivative of that? Product rule. Okay? Really important. We're going to have to use product rule here when we take the derivative of 2xy. All right? So let's write that out for step 1. All right? It's going to be the derivative of 2x times y plus 2x times the derivative of y. Right? That's the product rule. Minus, we're going to take the derivative of 3y squared minus the derivative of 2x equals the derivative of 7. Okay? I just wrote this out. You don't have to write it out every time. I'm just writing it out so you guys can see what we're doing. All right, so let's do it. What's the derivative of 2x? 2. So we get 2y here plus 2x times, what's the derivative of y? 1 what? dy dx, because we took the derivative of y. Minus, what's the derivative of 3y squared? 6y dy dx minus, what's the derivative of 2x? 2. Equals, what's the derivative of 7? 0. All right? So now, everything that has dy dx goes to the left-hand side. And everything that doesn't goes to the right-hand side. Okay? All right, the third step is to isolate dy dx. What do I do to do that? Factor out dy dx. And then divide both sides by 2x minus 6y. So I get dy dx is equal to 2 minus 2y all over 2x minus 6y. Right, that looks great. Can we simplify more? All right, someone tell me, what can we do? We can factor out a 2 in the numerator, and a 2 in the denominator. What happens with those 2's? They cancel out, and 1 minus y over x minus 3y. All right, what questions do we have? There's absolutely no questions. Okay, we're going to do another one. All right, and I want you guys to try this one on your own. But what I want you to do is just do step 1 and stop at step 1. Just do the differentiation. Don't move anything. Let's stop right there. All right, try this one. All right, so you should have gotten for step 1, 15x squared plus 0 is equal to 2 dy dx minus, and we had 3x squared being multiplied by y. So what do we have to use here? Product rule. So the derivative of the first term times the second term plus the first term times the derivative of the second term. The derivative of y is 1 times dy dx. Okay? Now, the reason why I asked you guys to stop here, all right, is because we need to remember that this subtraction sign applies to both terms for the product rule. All right? So this really simplifies down to 15x squared is equal to 2 dy dx minus 6xy minus 3x squared dy dx. And now everything else is the same. Yes? You sure? Okay. All right, now we do everything else the same. Step 2. Get all terms with dy dx to the left-hand side. And all terms without dy dx to the right-hand side. Okay? Now we're going to isolate dy dx by factoring out dy dx. And then dividing by negative 2 plus 3x squared. And so your final answer will be dy over dx is equal to negative 15x squared minus 6xy all over negative 2 plus 3x squared. All right, so let's do one more, and it's going to involve trig functions. I know. 2 sine x cosine y equals 1. So what do you notice about the left-hand side? It's multiplication. Excellent. What are we multiplying? 2 trig functions. We're multiplying 2 sine x times cosine y. So what are we going to use to do this multiplication? Product rule. Let's do it. All right. So the derivative of the first term times the second term plus the first term times the derivative of the second term. All right? And then we're going to take the derivative of 1. All right? So the derivative of 2 sine x is 2 cosine x. What's the derivative of cosine y? Negative sine y. But we took the derivative of y. So what do we have to introduce? Dy dx. And what's the derivative of 1? 0. All right, so now we're going to move all terms that don't have dy dx to the other side. And luckily for us, all we have to